of the panelists today is from Target. When I was a Cub reporter, Target was one of the first companies I started covering, and that was 20-something years ago. And it's a really great example of a retailer that can stay true to their brand and innovate at the same time without losing the core of who they are. So I'm going to start by introducing Dan Tynan, who will be our host for this panel.
Oh, they fixed it, good.
And Dan is a journalist with Improbable Ventures. Dan, why don't you take it away?
Great. Thanks, everyone.
You can move that a little closer.
Okay, good. I'm not sure I can. Welcome, everyone. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how large companies like Target and Metro work with startups. As she mentioned, I'm a journalist. I write for a number of publications, The Guardian, Fast Company, Family Circle. So I'd like to have my speakers kind of introduce themselves. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what Target is. I'm not sure you are as familiar with Metro. And then we'll start into the questions. Gene?
Great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. My name is Gene Hahn. I'm the head of new ventures and accelerators at Target. I know we have a broad-based group, but Target is actually one of the largest big box retailers in the U.S., 1,800 locations, a multi-billion-dollar e-commerce business. We also have about 30 sourcing offices globally. And in addition to that, my team is an innovation team that really focuses on prototyping and experimentation, and we also run approximately 5 accelerator programs out of Minneapolis and Bangalore, India.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas. I'm with Metro AG. Metro is a Germany-based international wholesaler, so we're talking B2B retail. We're talking $40 billion in sales in 35 countries, pretty much anywhere except the United States. Big box stores selling B2B to restaurant owners, hotel owners, small retailers, essentially food and beverage products as well, kitchen products, front of house, back of house. Again, $40 billion in revenue in 35 countries except the United States.
But soon, right?
I'm sorry?
But soon in the United States, right?
No. No.
So you guys have a little bit of news. It was announced last month, but I'm not sure everyone here knows about it. Why don't you tell us?
Yeah, so we announced a partnership between Target and Metro to run an accelerator program. And the program will be a classic program, about 3 to 4 months. We're looking at 10 startups, probably 5 in each location, with co-location happening at various parts of the program. The program will be commencing this spring. Applications are open now, and if you're interested, look at targetaccelerators.com. Look for the Target Metro site to get more information there.
Yep. So we're super excited to partnering with Target, and the reason for that is sort of plentyfold. The program that we're jointly running is an early stage retail tech startup program, meaning it's not easy. It's not easy to help essentially early stage companies to start develop a viable product. It's something that we enjoy doing very much. But it takes time, patience, money, capital, sales channels, you name it. And we're realizing that if we're looking at providing the best possible support platform, to do this jointly with Target is just genius, because it's a European market that we're on the Metro side are covering, and then you have Target very, very strong in the United States. So we believe the combination of a transatlantic commercialization opportunity for early stage startups in the retail tech space it's just making a lot of sense.
So this actually started last year at CES, did it not?
Go ahead and introduce.
Not CES. You and I met.
We met at another conference.
Another conference in Las Vegas less than a year ago, and it started that way. You're right. It started right here.
Andreas was talking about his experience in accelerator programs, and we realized we just had a lot of commonalities. But in addition to that, more importantly, we saw in the market over the last couple of years, the accelerator activities really picked up, right? And so what we believe is that pushing to continue to differentiate in an innovation space, offering a more compelling proposition to the great startups that are out there was an opportunity that we could both move on, and that's why we struck up the partnership. To Andreas' point, hey, if you're a great startup, high potential, we're going to offer you potentially 2 clients across a couple different continents to do business with. And we think that's a really valuable proposition. Yeah. In addition to that, you're going to get depth of expertise across veterans in retail, across 2 geographies, people that really know their stuff, in addition to just being broad-based general executives across various businesses.
Yeah.
That's great. So tell me a little bit more about how the program actually works.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we're looking at 10 startups. We're going to station 5 in Minneapolis near Target headquarters, and then 5 in Berlin. And so once the program commences, we'll have some activities where we'll do some onboarding with engagement with the various executives across both companies and do some co-location really based on the curriculum. To be really candid, we're still working through the curriculum, and we want to make sure that we're tailoring it to the right audience, with the right specific content that's appropriate for retail, specific to each geography. Mm-hmm.
But you have other incubator and accelerator programs, right? How is this different?
Yeah. I'll let Andreas talk about his programs a little bit first.
Alongside what we're now doing with Target, which is a retail tech-focused program, we're also running an accelerator program out of Berlin, Germany, focused on the hospitality industry and small retailers, bodegas, kiosks, and so forth, right? So it's that long tail of retail and hospitality that we're covering through our Hospitality Accelerator program out of Berlin, and we've done this for 3 years now. We're in year 4, actually. And with both programs, both the hospitality program and the retail program, really what we're doing is we're outsourcing R&D. If you look at retail as an industry doesn't really have a history in research and development, right? We were talking about this earlier. The pharmaceutical industries, telecom industries, they essentially have a history of billions of dollars of product development, of R&D. Retail does not have that. For us, Metro, starting at this point, running 2 early-stage acceleration programs is that R&D element, outsourcing R&D, what is next-generation technology that we believe are driving value back to our store experience, customer experience, as well as, in our case, hospitality. And so those are outside-in programs that help us figure out where we're headed going forward.
Yeah, so on the Target side, we'll run about 5 programs this year, including the one with Metro, which is definitely on retail technology. In addition to that, we have 2 programs that are under the Target Takeoff umbrella, which is focused on digital emerging brands. Probably the one that people have heard most about is our one around emerging beauty from that standpoint. We also have a Target Incubator, which is focused on Gen Z entrepreneurs. That's our first year with that program. And the long-standing program is actually a program out of Bangalore, India, which is actually in year 6 of its cohort. And again, that's general retail tech taking advantage of the talent that's in that part of the region of the world.
So in this program, though, I mean, you find startups, they come to you, and you fund them, right, to the tune of like $120,000?
That's right.
So tell me a little bit more about how they operate. Are they independent? Are they, like a one-person shop? I mean, what are you looking for?
Yeah, when we're sourcing for the program, you're really looking at a couple things. But the 2 things that quickly rise to the top is there a clear use case for the startup? What problem are they trying to tackle? And then once you know that, how does that fit within your strategy? At least that's how we think about it. How does it work along the portfolio of things that we want to get accomplished at the company? Because when you have that match of, hey, strategic, it's aligned, it's a strong use case that the startup's trying to solve, you can create some tests and you can create business from that standpoint. Then the second piece is agnostic use case, and it's really true for startups in general. You're looking at the depth of expertise on the team, right? Mm-hmm. Have they done this before? Are they, do they have a real specialty in the area that they're starting to look at? And how do they round each other out? And that's something that I think classically all startups that are really strong have a very strong leadership team from that standpoint.
And in your experience, same thing? The things you're looking for at Metro?
Yes, that's a short answer, yes.
That's great. What do you guys get out of it? What does Target get out of fostering this innovation and having all of these accelerator and incubator programs? And then I'll ask you for Metro. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the target side, it's Andreas alluded to this a little bit, but it's this access to fresh thinking. In this day and age where barriers to entry are down, like literally we could start up a business tomorrow and just go compete. But it's this access to outside in because the operators within the business, they're really busy. Retail is a very competitive business, and if you're running it, your head's down trying to drive that, especially with holiday that we just had. So that's one of the big pieces. But the second piece, what you're trying to do is what I alluded to earlier, working with the business and seeing what you can do to help accelerate some of the strategies that you do have. And you can do that outside in with someone that's actually creating something new with a high potential startup. And that's really exciting. That's really exciting to do.
Mm-hmm.
My question to the audience, who is a pure play retailer in the audience?
1, 2, 3, maybe half a dozen.
Okay, I expected actually just a
Few
few more. Regardless, for us as retailers, what has changed is the reality of a customer experience. Essentially, if by way of our mobile phones or web, any consumer, any customer can shop anywhere, anytime for anything, anywhere, anytime. Obviously, the store experience needs to be reinvented in a sense. And so for us, it was important to make sure if we want to understand what next generation store experience is, vis-a-vis multi-channel and always-on e-commerce, we need to talk to the best startups that are out there. And that means you need to have the best program because you're competing for capital and attention because startups have choices, right? And so for us to partner up with Target, and by way of doing that, expanding our platform geographically across Atlantic, a European and a US platform, we think we're convinced that we can simply contribute more value back to participating startups, contribute more value back and more security back to VCs that are looking to invest in those startups. And so for us, early stage acceleration, investing in startups starts with a 12-week program, but is certainly a full year, 12 months initiative because you have to stay in touch with your startups. You have to make sure that you can provide value back to them. And so back to your question, this is why we thought if we partner up with Target, that incidentally does not have stores in Europe, and we have no stores in the US, so we're not competing. We figured this is the best, most competitive opportunity for value or for quality startups to come in and help us take the retail experience to the next level.
That's great. So the reverse, what did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would echo all those things.
Yeah.
Working with going to retail is really hard, and so if you're a startup, there's a lot of things that you have to learn, and I think that's the value of participating in an accelerator program that's specific to retail, and getting that expertise and that mentorship from people that have been in the business. We're not talking 5 years, we're talking like 15, 20, 30 years, I think is incredibly helpful. And this idea, I think for Target also, taking these great great use cases or startup ideas and helping them bringing them to the market for the consumer is something we get really excited about. We're hoping those things are things that are very compelling, things that will help improve people's lives, but ultimately we can help bring that to market faster, hence the word accelerator.
Right. So if I were a startup, should I be nervous that if I have a good idea that I might be giving it to you guys instead of like building my own multi-billion-dollar business? I mean, how do these budding entrepreneurs get the benefit of your experience, but also get the benefit of their own ideas?
I'll be really clear. The companies that come in, it's their idea. They're a company, and we're there to really help assist them. First by figuring out, how do you get that product to market, and that's how you can use the expertise of these retail and commerce veterans to provide that advice in navigating those waters, because it is complex. One of the things I absolutely love in terms of helping startups, if I can find someone that's got a great idea, kind of doesn't look that great, maybe has some opportunity around brand and packaging, that's something we can lean into right away and help improve the overall perception of the brand and the product as it goes to market. But coming back to the question, the company is the company, and they're in full control. They're the CEOs, and we're there to help accelerate their ability to get to market. And we would love to help as many companies be successful as possible. And if there's a right fit with Target down the line, that's great. And we've gotten a relationship out of that, as well as visibility into what might be really disruptive in the market. And I think there's great value there.
Yeah. No, there's no way that we could get away with trying to steal intellectual property. This is not an IP grab, and it would be a really, really bad idea to try it. Maybe to sort of answer it in a different way, since start of our program, our companies have jointly raised about a little over $90 million in funding since they come through our programs. That means there's investors and investment committees and an advisory board that essentially said this is a serious partner, right? We're not running away with IP. You couldn't do that. They wouldn't plunk in that kind of money unless they would know that it's a fair and equitable relationship where both sides have gained.
That's great. So, for benefit of the audience, what kind of startups are you looking at? Are you looking at someone who has a new product that might be sold at Target or distributed by Metro? Are you looking at something that might help Target do business, a B2B product? Are there any restrictions or rules about the kinds of startups you're looking for?
The process is pretty open. What we try to do is in the selection process, look at our strategy and see what kind of opportunities or areas we want to push in. I can tell you some of the startups we've had in previous groups have been everything from voice, everyone's in the AI, unstructured data, but also categories that Target's really strong in, areas like baby, like home, style. Those are things that we're always interested in. But I think it's also true across those things, what are going to really help improve everyday people's lives. Like that's a no regrets for us. So that's always of interest, definitely.
I think one of the most surprising sort of technologies that we were introduced to as part of our program is essentially using the world's magnetic field for in-store navigation. And when the company came to us and pitched it, we were like, what are you talking about? It's not making sense. And when we started really looking into it, and we started having a conversation that I don't think we would have had without a program, right?
Yeah. One thing I'm really proud to say is that through our Target Takeout program, two of the brands, Girl and Hair and Uni, are actually in Target stores this month, and so that's a huge win. There's been a couple startups out of our first and second cohorts that were acquired very early on, AdStructure and Neoxys. So congrats to them. I'm really excited that they were able to exit very early. And then, the other one that's been in the press a lot for us is a company called Inspectorial. They're digitizing the QA process for manufacturing, and we've had a long-standing relationship with them, including an equity investment, but we're proud of what they're doing, and we're happy to be partners for them. And so I think over and over we've seen great proof points about our accelerator providing real value in addition to the amount of money that the founders are able to run, but we've been able to partner with them on tests and from an accelerator standpoint, get the operators in the company to try some new technologies, and to Andreas' point, get them to see new things that are happening in the market that you might not normally see because you are so focused on running the business, which is a very competitive business for sure.
So those are great success stories. What's the hard part? What's the challenging part for you guys working with startups?
So we were talking about this right before. One of the key things is the time. It seems like 3 to 4 months is a long time, but it goes by so fast. And the reality is that with all the content, the meetings, and the relationship building that happens through that process, it goes by very quickly. You're starting kickoff one day, and you're doing graduation demo day, literally, just in what feels like in a couple nights. But you can never have enough time on these because there is a business for the startups to run after the program. We want to make sure that they're successful in that. And one thing I failed to mention is that through the relationship with Techstars, because it is their first certified program, that the startups post-program, they still get access into the great network in addition to the curriculum. So they have a support network. As you are a CEO running a business, that's a tough road on itself. So having the access and the backing of a great name like Techstars to tap into their network, actually, we think is very beneficial.
For anyone in the audience not sort of intimately familiar with the structure of a 12-week accelerator program, it's really 12 weeks of helping startups on defining their technology or their solutions, helping with business development, helping raising capital, helping with branding and getting messaging right. And at the end of that 12-week or 14-week program, you have that one day, that demo day, i.e. Startups get on a stage just like this in front of an audience very similar to this, an audience of investors and other potential commercial partners, and you present your company and what you've learned over the course of those 12 weeks of an accelerator program. For us, and we were joking about this earlier, for us that is sort of that's similar to your engagement party. And on demo day, you're getting married. And that means the fun starts essentially as of the day, after post-demo day. Essentially, you need to build for long-term relationship. And the reason for that is because you cannot always assume that, that those 12 weeks have sort of been able to capture the entire opportunity. As companies, as startups further develop, as long as you stay in touch with them throughout the year, you can make sure that even if there was not necessarily a match and during the program, you make sure that you're in touch enough to know when to introduce or reintroduce your company to a particular business unit or someone who runs our China division versus our European division. So it's all about timing, the right thing, the right conversation with the right people at the right time. And that means it starts with the 12-week program, but it certainly is a full year sort of end-to-end dialogue that you need to have.
Sounds a bit like a whirlwind romance.
Voila.
So what's the hard part for them? What do you have to teach these startups or teach these young innovators about working with you guys?
Yeah, I think the first one is that because you are working in a corporate culture and people are running $1 billion business, that schedules are tough. When you're a smaller company, you're used to picking up the phone and saying, hey, let's walk down the street, grab a cup of coffee and cut a deal. And so, things like that need to be programmed and managed and planned ahead a little bit more definitively. And we've seen people on the startup side wish things would move faster. And I think through the structure of a program, you can help accelerate the scheduling and meeting with decision makers much quicker. So that's definitely one challenge. The other one too, it's always great to see a startup that's coachable. You're coming in with a sharp idea what you want to do, but there are people that are spending their own personal and professional time to provide advice. And I think having startups that understand that and respect that and are willing to listen is actually something that is a great opportunity for startups to kind of embrace from that standpoint.
I think one of the hard parts is reality. You cannot assume that if you have 10 companies successfully going through your program, that they necessarily will survive. Right? This is early stage acceleration. This is taking high risk. This is what I call 3 guys in a laptop or 3 gals in a laptop. They may just really come up with an idea and are saying, we think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It may not work out that way. And as we work with them over time, both sides might find, well, maybe there's not a match, and that can be difficult sometimes. But I think it's a sort of a natural selection process, sort of a Darwinism of technology that is just a reality, and you need to deal with it. Meaning you need to be as good in saying yes as your need to say no every now and then. Otherwise, it just makes no sense.
And if I could add one thing, to Andreas' point, sometimes a company comes in with a great idea, but it might not just strategically align with the corporate sponsor, which is why we're trying to have 2 sponsors here. Because very quickly we can figure out, hey, that might not be a fit for us. Hey, let's start to migrate the conversation to Metro or to Target, vice versa. And therefore, we're hoping to increase the value for the startups that are participating in the program.
So you've both run innovator, accelerator programs for a few years. How have your companies changed as a result?
Companies or
Organizations.
Oh, our organization. Yes, quite a bit actually. Because in many ways, for some of our teams inside Metro, running an accelerator program was completely novel. It was essentially something folks were not familiar with, and it took a while to sort of get the idea of what we're doing, why we're spending money on this, what are we getting out of this. But it really helped us in terms of sort of promoting a need of urgency when it comes to innovation, embracing innovation. And so our accelerator program is a structured approach to educating folks inside our company how important innovation is, and that you have real live people, founders and their teams behind it. It's not an abstract. It's not a headline that you read somewhere. It's real people trying to cause real change.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I think something similar. It's been really fun to see the engagement of the startups with the operators and executives at the company, and have someone that's been in the business 20 years be told by someone outside in, hey, you can do it differently, right? And to see that dialogue happen, that mind share, that kind of change in point of view is just, it's priceless from that standpoint. I think the second part is also to have, again, an operator who's really busy, work with a startup, and the startup create something in matters of days and what might take us a couple weeks, right? So they get a new definition of what fast can look like. It essentially becomes a new normal of operating. So across those pieces, but in addition to that, I think just the real business results, that's what really matters. And if we can, as a programming team, can get tests to happen and get the people in the business to try the technology, that itself is what we feel like is really successful accelerator. Like try the technology, see how it can be different, look at the proof, look at the data, look at the results, and let those speak for themselves.
So kind of like an internal education program in a way.
Let's see here. The reality is that the business retail is changing really fast. And so you can either partner to understand where it's going, or you can just do what you're doing. But we think, looking at the disruption and trying to get ahead of it in various ways, and this being one of the ways to see it. There's numerous other ways to see the intelligence and where the market is going, but this is definitely one way to see where disruption might happen for sure.
That's right. I'm not sure if anyone in the audience has a startup in mind, if anyone's like a budding entrepreneur or innovator.
Let us know.
Well, how would they let you know? What should they do?
Yeah, I think the simplest way is to go to targetaccelerators.com and look for the Metro Target site. All the information about our programs is there. And if you don't have any, if you do have questions, there's a way you can send in your questions, and we'd be more than happy to respond to that.
That's awesome. Probably good.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone. Glad to have
Thank
you
you.
back.
Thank you.